Nandyan rin po yung Wata Wata Festival and other fiestas in honor of Saint John the Baptist. Ayan. Ito yung basaan yung Wata Wata Festival.
Parang may kontrobersya last year.
Yes,
no?
oo. Meron kasi dyan.
Boy Dila.
Yes, ayan.
Hindi ko masabi yung pangalan. Parang,
Bakit kasi ganun ang palayaw, ano?
parang sumasadsad yung dangal ko eh. May bagong guidelines because of this boy. Ano ba yung ginagawa itong Boy Dila?
Ayun siya, yung sa video, merong nakasakay sa motor na binabasa niya, tapos he stuck his tongue out, kaya siya tinawag o binansagang Boy Dila. Harap-harapang pambabastos, ano, yung ginawa niya dito sa motorist. Kaya nga ito nasita. At dahil dito, sa nangyari last year, may certain guidelines. Isa na dyan, yung may hours na lang, ano, yung basaan daw will only be from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Paano kung may trabaho ka ng 7 a.m. to 2 p.m.?
Ay, di hindi ka na makikisali doon sa
Ano meron sa 2 p.m. kaya?
Ayun ang hindi ko alam.
Di ba dapat parang baligtad kasi parang yung mga medyo coming home from work ay mas...
Pwedeng mabasa.
O baka naman kasi malamig na sa hapon. Hindi ko alam.
Si Mayor Francis Zamora, nakita natin, no? May hawak siyang parang hose. From last year yan, na talagang sineselebrate naman siya ng mga tao, kaya nga lang nagkaroon ng controversy with Mr. Boy Dila.
Yun ang friendly hose. Kasi yung mga hose na ginagamit dun sa Menjola against protesters, medyo masakit-sakit yata.
Okay, speaking of Wata Wata Festival, nakikiselebrate dyan si Mobile Journal JF Rivera. JF, kamusta yung fiesta at basa? Naku, mukhang ang basang-basa ka na. Pati camera mo, basa na, JF.
Denise! Narinig ba ako, ha?
Loud and clear.
Ay, ayan, Denise! Kakatapos ka lang ng tinaktang oras para sa basaan doon sa may basaan zone sa labas sa may Pinaglabanan Road. Kaya itong basaan dito, sa harap to mismo ng munisipyo ng San Juan City. Kaya ayan, marami pa rin. Patuloy pa rin ang programa dito. Kakatapos lang tumugtog ng Sponge Cola. At ngayon, awarding na lang sila dito sa ginanap na street dance competition kaninang umaga. At dagdag ko lang, Denise, doon sa sinabi, no, may bagong city ordinance nga dito sa San Juan City. Kaugnay nga to sa mga concerns and issues last year. Kaya naman ngayon, may designated basaan zone na. Ilan din sa mga pinagbabawal ngayon, yung mga pag-alog, pagpasok, at pambabasa ng mga tao na hindi naman gusto nilang mabasa. So, kaya naglagay ng designated basaan para sa kanila.
JF, yung mga nasa likod mo ba, JF, ano nararamdaman mo ngayon? Nilalamig ka ba o...
Lord, halo-halo kasi kanina ang init. Tinik na tinik ang araw talaga. Kaya naman makulimlim. Tapos papasahin ka pa ng bumbero. So talaga, lalamigin ka talaga, Lord.
Wala namang amoy yung tubig siguro, no? Yung mga binubuhos sa'yo dyan, hindi naman mainit o kulay dilaw, mga ganyan.
Yes, Lord, bawal. Yan, isa rin yan sa pinagbabawal ang pagpapato ng mga matutubing tubig. At ganun din yung mga highly pressured water sprayer para iwas mga sakit sa ibang tao din.
Oo. Itong mga nasa likod mo, mga taga San Juan ba talaga yan sila? Pakitanong nga kung ilang taon niya na ginagawa yan at mayroon na ba siyang nabasa na sikat na tao?
Taga San Juan ka ba talaga?
Normal na, sa TV na. San Juan po.
San Juan po. May nabasa ka na.
Meron po. Pinsan ko po si Boy Dila.
Pinsan niya si Boy
Pinsan niya si
Dila?
Boy Dila.
Sample nga, kamo.
Kaya ba siya dila ng dila din?
Teka.
Sample ka mo.
Oo nga. Sabi mo, pinsan mo si Boy Dila.
Opo.
Sample nga, paano yung...
Nako, nabasa ata masyado. Ayun. Ang pasampol.
Mga tropa ni JF talaga.
Oo. JF, teka, aside from the hours, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., meron din iba pang pinagbabawal, katulad ng mga, ano ba tawag, the water bombs? Bawal din mga, ano pa?
Yes.
JF,
Isa din sa mga pinagbabawal, yung biglang pagpasok dun sa mga, di ba kung dati, pinapasok yung
okay. Ano ba yung ethics dyan, JF? Sorry
pampasaherong jeep, pinupuksan yung
JF,
Ngayon, Lord,
ano ba yung rules dyan kapag ang tao, kunyari dumadaan ba ay nakiusap na, tol, wag naman, hindi mo pwede ituloy? May mga ganyan ba ethics dyan? Paanong ground rules ba?
yes, Lord, kasi nga, bawal ka lumabas dito sa Baza Zone na may dito sa San Juan City. Kapag na lumabag ka dito sa pinagbabawal na pampapasa doon sa labas ng Bazahan Zone, magmumulta ka ng 5,000 piso.
Wow. JF, ano ba yung logic nung hanggang 2 p.m. lang? Pakipaliwanag nga. Ano meron sa 2 p.m.? Bakit parang ang alanganin naman yata nung alas 2?
Oo, kasi, Lord, kasi doon sa programa na pinakita sa atin kanina, nag-umpisa yan sa Mass, siyempre bilang pagkunita din kay John the Baptist, at tuloy-tuloy yan doon sa Santong Tao Parade, Float Parade, street dance competition hanggang sa nagtuloy-tuloy na ang programa. Pero doon sa 2 p.m., walang nasabing specific na kasagutan bakit 2 p.m. lang. Pero isa sa mga pinapatupad niya raw talaga ay magkaroon ng disiplina ang basahan dito sa San Juan. Yun ang nilalaban ang Mayor Zamora.
Yan tandaan mo, JF, Tita Denise, magbasa responsibly. Alright, maraming salamat sa ating mobile journal, JF Rivera. Reporting us live with his new friend from San Juan for the Wata Wata Festival. Pinsa pala ni Boy Dilay.
Oo nga. No, kaya naman pala ganun din ang ang mga posts.
In the presence of greatness. Anyway, meantime, let's see our headlines this Tuesday. The Energy Department says there's a 2.5 billion pesos worth of fuel subsidy allotted for PUV drivers and operators. That's to help them stave off rising oil prices. But it's up to the DOTR to make the announcement on when and how the assistance will be distributed. And as if it would hurt any less, all companies have decided to show mercy and at least implement the big-time fuel price hike this week on a staggered basis. One increase is happening today, and another, God bless them, for their really kind souls, on Thursday. But it's still a full hike of as much as 5 pesos per liter.
Overseas, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a looming ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Only one party has already denied agreeing to Trump's idea of truce and peace.
I wonder which side is that. And Vice President Sara Duterte has replied to the summons from the impeachment court. We have her response and reactions to it later on the show.
Let's now see what's happening in the Middle East after Iran bombed a U.S. base in Qatar. After that, American President Donald Trump said the worst could be over, with Tehran and Tel Aviv now willing to talk peace. Here's a report. Balls of fire streaked across the night sky in Doha on Monday. From below, people watched as missiles were launched, then intercepted, with some reaching their target. It was the Iran military's turn to sling what it called was a devastating and powerful missile attack on Al Udeid Air Base, the United States' largest military installation in the Middle East, but also outside Qatar's more populated areas. Tehran's latest actions supposedly matched the number of bombs dropped by America over the weekend, 30,000-pound bunker busters on Iranian atomic sites, covering Isfahan and the underground facilities at Natanz and Fordo. Fordo is dug deeply under a mountainside, and it's long been believed that the U.S. would need to use specialized bombs to destroy the facility. American President Donald Trump was quick to call Iran's retaliation weak, as it came shortly after Qatar closed its airspace as a precaution. No casualties were reported among some 10,000 military and civilian personnel in the U.S. base. The New York Times is reporting that Iran's attack appeared calculated to send a message while limiting the war's chances of spiraling out of control. American and Qatari officials were said to have even received advance warning of the strike. Trump was beaming in his rambling monologues on his Truth Social account. One read in reference to Iran, it had gotten it all out of their system and there will, hopefully, no further hate. The American president went on, "Congratulations, world, it's time for peace." And much later, "Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire." He called Tel Aviv and Tehran's conflict a mere 12-day war that will wrap up just as soon as the two parties wind down their final missions. But the Iranian foreign minister burst Trump's bubble just as quick. On X, Sayed Abbas Araghchi says, quote, "As of now, there is no agreement on any ceasefire or cessation of military operations. Provided that the Israeli regime stops its illegal aggression against the Iranian people no later than 4 a.m. Tehran time, we have no intention to continue our response afterwards." He reminds the world now waiting for Tehran and Tel Aviv's next move that it was Israel that launched the war on Iran, not the other way around.
So we ask, what's the further impact of a continued Israel-Iran conflict? And we bring in Francis Rico Domingo, Associate Professor at the UP Diliman's Political Science Department, and his expertise is international relations. Magandang hapon, Prof. Lourdes de Vera po at si Denise Tan.
Magandang hapon, Prof.
Yeah, magandang hapon. Magandang hapon, Lord and Denise. No? Yes, I've been following your program, the coverage since yesterday. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Professor Domingo, what could be Trump's strategy behind announcing a ceasefire na hindi naman pala confirmed ng kabilang side?
Marami po siyang, usually may track record na po yung President ng United States pagsabi ng mga bagay na hindi naman necessarily nangyayari. So, I think posturing niya, no, yun yung gusto niya mangyari pero hindi pa naman confirmed on the ground. So, but what we've established so far is that if you manage to see the Iranian response, no, yung sinasabing retaliation, medyo constrained po kung yun yung retaliation nila against Qatar, no, US-based Qatar. Constrained po yung response. So siguro si President Trump, may alam siyang, obviously marami siyang intel na alam about Iran's capabilities. Malakas yung pananalita niya about ceasefire because it's either he knows that Iran's not as capable, or they have enough intel mechanisms to know what Iran probably will be doing next. So in short, marami siyang alam na bagay na not in public that he would be able to sort of boost in terms of ceasefire.
Constrained meaning naniniwala po kayo na crippled na at this point ang retaliatory capabilities ng Iran, Professor?
Well, kung tingnan niyo po yung videos, at least we can only see what's published by mainstream media. Ilan pong missiles yung ginamit nila against US territories compared to, for example, Iran. Sabi Israel. Tapos yung oras, no, yung length of time that they've been using ballistic missiles. Of course, we don't know if they're gonna do it again tomorrow, right? Or this evening. So if that's the first salvo, that's probably very likely not going to be the last. No? Pero kung ganun po yung takbo ng retaliation, that's very far from what they've been doing to Israel and what the US has done to them.
Follow-up question ko lang, Prof. Sa tingin nyo, bakit hindi nag-come to Iran's aid yung mga proxy allies niya in the region? Sila ba ay similarly defanged na rin?
Right. Great question. Yun ang tinatanong usually ng students ko rin. Hindi, mahirap pong mag-claim. So yung proxies po kasi may relationship sila in terms of, interest. So hindi natin alam kung, for instance, no, they're proxies because they're being supported by Iran, but they have their own agenda. So one path could be they're waiting for a better time, appropriate time, because the world is focused on them. And for example, hitting Israel or hitting the US now would just draw attention and then ultimately, reap more destruction from their end. And these are what? Non-state actors mostly. So hindi naman po yan kasing well-resourced sila but not comparable to states yet. So timing, no? Timing, strategic opportunities yan eh. Hindi naman natin sasabihin na hindi sila aatake na, no? Pero in terms of the timing, I don't think do they want to engage with the United States as well?
Opo.
Is the question.
Okay. Prof, matanong ko lang kasi madami ang yung may mentality pa rin na wala naman yan sa Pilipinas, hindi naman tayo kasali dyan. But ano po ba yung talagang ultimately ano yung impact nito sa Pilipinas as a developing country also?
Yeah, so direct impact po niya, no? Hindi po totoo walang impact. Number one, meron po tayo OFWs in Israel and Iran. We also have embassies. We have diplomatic relations with these countries, right? So matagal na po yung diplomatic relations natin with these countries. So may direct impact po yun dun sa relationship. In terms of, siguro yung pinag-uusapan nyo yung wala naman nangyari, we're not feeling it now, we're more concerned with domestic, for example, which is the case, gasoline prices, etc. So this is just a start, no, I'm sorry to say. We're just starting with the situation in the Middle East, no? So hopefully it doesn't expand or even motivate other. We already have an existing war. This is the second war. Hopefully hindi po mag-expand yung ganyan na. Hopefully wala na pong ibang gera, no, interstate, no, state-to-state war, no. Pero hindi nagsisimula pa lang yan. We don't know what could happen in the next couple of weeks or months.
Prof Francis, ano kaya ang possible ramifications / consequences ng regime change? Kasi may mga nagsasabi na it's deeply unpopular kasi naging mas repressive pa daw itong mga clerics, no?
Yeah.
Pero pag civilian regime change naman, civilian-led regime change, sino na naman daw kaya ang posibleng iupo nila?
So pag sinabi niyo pong civilian regime change, sila po yung magpapalit sa sarili nilang. So if the Iranians would change their own regime, no, malabo po mangyari yon. So kahit pilitin po sila ng ibang bansa, malabo rin mangyari yon. It's been done, sinubukan na po yan dati noong 1970s, no. May Western intervention, covert intervention, no, gumagawa po ng insurrection para po mapalitan yung regime or manatili yung regime na gusto nila. I'm sorry. So either way, kung sa kanila manggaling, malakas po yung current authoritarian regime, hindi po basta-basta mapapalitan yan kung sila mismo ang susubok magpalit, kung sino yung Iranian people, let's say. Kung external po yun, like papakialaman na naman sila ng West, that would be very, very dangerous, I think. No, they could try, they will always try. No, they've tried in Iraq and of course in other jurisdictions. Afghanistan, I think, is more also popular.
Diba? Mossadegh Part 2.
No? Mabigat yung labanan doon kasi yung mga tao ay, I mean, kung titingnan nyo ako kung wala naman masyadong opinion poll sa Iran kasi authoritarian.
Bakit kaya?
Titingnan natin, no, yung national will ba nila nung bansa? Kanino ba ano bang direction nun? No? They're not exactly clamoring for democracy, right? So again, no, not claiming any expertise on Iranian politics or domestic politics, no. Pero malinaw naman kung tingnan natin yung history ng Iran, no, meron ng intervention from the West outside. So I would say allergic, or they're very aware of what external forces could do.
Prof. Domingo, ito pa nga, ang isang araw na nabubulong-bulong na isang option daw, ay yung anak ng Shah na nasa Canada yata ngayon. Na medyo masakit yon pag binalik mo at talagang dalawang middle finger yon to the Iranians, kung tutuusin mo, no?
Well, mabigat po yung gano'n, no? Kasi sinubukan rin nila yan sa Iraq, no? They tried someone, I think from overseas, no, na naka-exile overseas, no? I think, again, no, I wouldn't even claim to know anything about the pulse of the Iranian people. No, yung kultura nila, yung history of resistance, no, kung ano ba talaga ang gusto nila. No, so changing, for example, regime change, ano ba ang path niyan? So from authoritarian to what? Right? So usually sasabihin mo democracy, di ba? Yun ba yung gusto nila, or yun ba ang direction ng mga katulong? No, I wouldn't claim to know the answer, but if that's the case, we want peace, right? But regime change is something very dangerous, I think, if you want to push that immediately, no? Maganda sana manggaling yun sa kanila gradual.
Pero maraming nagsasabi na lalo lang yung mga female activists, yung mga female na progressive mag-isip na yung repression na pagdating daw sa yung mga pinagsusuot ng hijab, etc. Mga ganon. Pero okay, Prof, bakit kaya hindi pa rin nila sinasarado yung kaya ba nilang sakalin yung Strait of Hormuz and mag-cause ng sakit ng ulo sa rest of the world?
Pwede silang gumawa ng gulo. They could definitely maybe sabotage, no? But I'm not aware of, been following this since it started. I'm not aware of, ang hirap po malaman yung capabilities ng Iran ngayon, no? Even think tanks would have their projection, pero alam kasi pag ginawa nila yon, alam nila kung ano ang kaya na ng United States and in Israel. So kaya naman ginawa ni President Trump yan, yung Operation Midnight Hammer, to demonstrate what they can do and then what they can keep on doing. Coercion yan eh, aside from war, pwede namang hindi gera coercion, no? Tatakutin ka, intimidate ka with their overwhelming capability. So yeah, they can try doing that, no, in Strait of Hormuz, etc. But alam naman nila pwede ang gagawin, ang response ng
Ang galing,
US and probably Israel. Oo.
Binali mo yung kamay para makipag-peace.
Ay, nako.
Kamayan mo na, dali.
Pero medyo mahirap nga isarado yun dahil majority ng lumalabas doon
Gagalit sa kanila China.
Exactly, majority is China,
Yes.
di ba, Prof?
Bayan
Yes,
nila.
so delicate yan kasi yung nangyari ngayon parang literally unilateral, nag-iisa lang silang gumawa nito, no? So wala silang, I'm not sure, I'm not aware of any congressional support, yung ginawa nila Operation Midnight Hammer, wala ring UN support.
Opo.
So paano po, my question is paano kaya yun? Yung mga iba pong ginawa nila sa Afghanistan, Iraq, merong both or either one support, no? So hindi ko alam kung ano ang play nitong ni President Trump, anong gusto niya makuha out of it. Sabi niya peace daw, pero I'm not very optimistic.
Peace
that this
through
is,
strength. Sabay
enduring,
tariffs.
yeah, to strength. So ang labas nito ay papalag lang lalo yan.
Ano lang, nag-flex lang. Nako, Prof, salamat sa oras ninyo, pero kung ako lang,
Bitin eh.
Salamat.
dami pang kay Prof. Like, totoo ba na may mga SAVAK agents daw na pinasok si Marcos yung after the Iranian Revolution sa Pilipinas? Opo. Pero that should be a topic for some other time. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much.
Professor Francis Rico Domingo from the UP Diliman Political Science Department. Thank you, sir. Alright, time out muna. Napakarami pa namin kwento sa inyo. Magbabalik po ang Afternoon Delight. Alright, this is Afternoon Delight on One News. Ako pa rin po si Lord De Vera.
At ako naman po si Denise Tan. Magandang hapon pong muli.
Alright, on to the news. The DOTR will be handing out fuel subsidies to POV drivers amid unabated fuel price increases. But as to when, this is happening formally and finally is actually yet to be announced. The assistance worth 2.5 billion pesos is coming as oil prices rise again this week. Companies have decided to implement the adjustment in tranches, although it will still be a full hike. Today,
Today, June 24, gasoline will be adjusted by 1 peso and 75 centavos, diesel by 2 pesos and 60 centavos, and kerosene by 2 pesos and 40 centavos per liter. On Thursday, June 26, the other half of the increase for the said fuels will kick in. Earlier estimates peg the hikes at nearly 4 pesos for gasoline and almost 5 pesos for diesel. As you know, diesel fuels most of our public utility vehicles, while kerosene is used for lighting and cooking in urban poor and rural areas. This is why transport groups still criticize the staggered increase and again pushed for the removal of the fuel excise tax as a better solution. They are also against a fare hike as this could burden the riding public.
Parang ang gusto nga palabasin, may utang na loob tayo dahil hindi biglaan. Ang isinsya nun, parang bibitayin ka ng January, gawin nating Marso para hindi bigla. Pero isinsya nung bitay ka pa rin.
alright, buti nga yun, mahaba-haba pa ng konti. Ito sa Thursday.
Oh, 2 araw lang eh.
Alright, let's head down south. Progressive group Bayan held a rally to protest the rising fuel prices and the U.S. bombing of Iran. And for details, we have One News Cebu Desk, Dale Israel. Dale, nagkabombahan ba dyan?
Yes, may hapon, Lord and Denise. Yesterday, Lord, motorists were bracing for the fuel hike by lining up at the gas stations around Metro Cebu. At dawn this morning, or before 6 a.m., we saw a long line of motorists that are trying to buy fuel, which are cheaper than it is today. The increase started at exactly 6 a.m. These are the different prices for gasoline stations, but all of them have increased. For example, one gasoline station in downtown Cebu City have increased 5 pesos for diesel, while gasoline, it is 4 pesos. Another one we visited in uptown Cebu City, it increased by 1.75 pesos for gasoline, while an increase of 2.60 pesos for diesel. So this is staggered increase, but then the next round of increase will be on Thursday or just one day apart. Some motorists we talked to said they would just have to plan their trips now since the fuel prices are higher. Then they should also minimize the use of air conditioning. Some even say they are just going to use their motorcycle instead for those who have motorcycles as backup. Also in Cebu City, Lord, Progressive group Bayan Central Visayas has organized this protest rally at Colon Street to condemn the increases by which they blame on the warmongering of the United States President Donald Trump against Iran. Bayan Central Visayas chairperson Jaime Paglinawan said that the increase of fuel prices is expected when Israel and the U.S. carried out the attacks on the Middle East. He said that broad picture, the oil price increase were also fueled by the oil price deregulation law of Ramos, train law of then President Arroyo, and imposition of the 12% value-added tax or deregulation. The group also said the oil price hike will also have ripple effect on the basic commodities as these are also expected to increase. He said that this is therefore important for the Philippines to scrap these laws and take part in condemning the U.S.-Israel attacks on Palestine and Iran. The rally ended shortly before 12 noon and no traffic congestion was observed during the activity in Colon Street. Back to you, Lord.
All right. Maraming salamat. Daghang salamat, Dale Israel, our man in Cebu.
At this point, we bring you more stories. Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Cacdac is set to return to the Philippines with 31 overseas Filipino workers. That's after their flight home was delayed due to the temporary closure of Qatari airspace following Iran's strike on a U.S. base in the country. Of the OFWs, 26 came from Israel, 3 from Jordan, and 1 from Qatar. Over 200 Filipinos in Israel and Iran have requested repatriation. Meantime, Philippine embassies in the U.S., Qatar, and Iraq have advised Filipinos in the countries to exercise caution and avoid public places amid the ongoing Middle East conflict. The Philippine government is imposing a total deployment ban of OFWs to Israel and Iran as Alert Level 3 is raised in both countries. DMW Secretary Kakdak assured repatriation, aid, and temporary shelter for affected Filipinos. Embassy officials warn of possible sea evacuation if land routes close. And Pag-asa continues to monitor the low-pressure area 365 kilometers west of Iba, Zambales. As of 8 a.m. today, it has a medium chance of developing into a tropical depression within the next 24 hours. The LPA, along with the southwest monsoon and localized thunderstorms, will bring rains over many parts of the country. In other news, Vice President Sara Duterte has denied all charges leveled against her in a 35-page response to the Senate impeachment court. Here's a report.
Around 6 p.m. on Monday, a messenger from the Fortuner Vasa and Salazar law firm arrived at the Senate to deliver copies of Vice President Sara Duterte's official response to the writ of summons issued by the impeachment court on June 11. The Vice President's camp submitted 6 copies of the response, each 35 pages long. VP Sara maintained that she has done nothing wrong. In a document shared with the media by the House Prosecution Panel spokesperson Attorney Antonio Bucoy, the impeachment complaint against VP Sara was labeled as a mere scrap of paper, lacking any legal basis. The Vice President's camp echoed the same argument made earlier by her ally, Senator Bato de la Rosa, questioning the constitutionality of the complaint. They claim the House violated the constitutional one-year rule, which allows only one impeachment proceeding per official each year. The February complaint against VP Sara was reportedly the 4th filed against her. Her camp argued that action on the earlier 3 complaints, filed as early as December, was deliberately delayed to bypass this rule, calling it an abuse of the impeachment process. VP Sara is currently facing accusations of conspiring to assassinate President Bongbong Marcos, misusing confidential funds, bribery, and links to extrajudicial killings in Davao City. But she insists there is no evidence to support any of the allegations. The title of the VP's response is marked Answer ad Cautelam, which means the reply is being filed with caution, potentially reserving arguments for later.
Maybe in their minds, they'd like to reserve some arguments, no? But in compliance with the order of the court, nag-file sila ng answer, but they're expressing that they're doing so with precaution.
Now that the clerk of court has received the VP's response, copies will be distributed to Senate President and Presiding Officer Chiz Escudero, court spokesperson Attorney Reginald Tonggol, and all senator judges. The House Prosecution Panel has 5 days to issue the reply to the VP's answer, which falls on a Saturday, so submission may happen by Monday, June 30.
All right, now let's check the latest from the Senate after the Vice President's reply to her summons. And we have Mobile Journal, Merimon Reyes. Merimon, okay, nabasa mo na ba yung kopya ng reply?
Unfortunately, sa ngayon, wala pa talaga. And even tayo dito sa Senado, naghihintay pa tayo sa magiging sunod na mangyayari with regards to the impeachment proceeding up to the impeachment trial na we are hoping to expect by July pag nagbukas na yung 20th Congress. However, based doon sa isang post ni impeachment court spokesperson attorney Reggie Tonggol, yung pinakapaghihintay doon sa pagpapadala o yung pagsagot ni Vice President Sara Duterte sa writ of summons, that's step 5 of the 11th-step impeachment process. And then itong until June 30, which is yung araw na inaasahan nga na makakapagpasa ng House prosecutors ng kanilang reply doon sa answer ni VP Sara, magiging 55% na yung pinaka-progress natin. Pero again, mukhang hanggang doon na lang yun kasi by July 28, pag nagbukas na yung 20th Congress, State of the Nation address ni President Bongbong Marcos, doon na maaring mag-roll out na ulit itong pagpapatuloy ng kanilang impeachment ng impeachment proceeding at saka yung impeachment trial. And yun nga kahapon, 5:49 p.m. dumating dito itong si Arnel Barrientos Jr. na nagsilbing messenger. Dala niya yung 6 copies ng pinaka-reply ni VP Sara sa writ of summons na pinadala sa kanya ng Senado bilang impeachment court noong June 11. Pero the media is yet to have a copy, full copy ng 34 pages plus yung verification page nito. Pero yung pinaka nakita natin doon sa front page niya, ang pinaka nilalaman nito is gusto nilang ma-dismiss daw itong impeachment case laban sa Vice Presidente dahil nga nilalabag nito yung 1-year bar rule. Sinabi din dito na wala raw statements of ultimate facts itong yung pang-apat na impeachment complaint na inendorso nga ng Kamara noong Pebrero at tila pa nga abuso raw ito noong impeachment process. At sinabi naman ni Senate Secretary Renato Bantug, yung possible na ito kasing answer nilang ad cautela, it means nag-comply sila pero they might have their reservations, may precautions sila. So baka may nire-reserve para sila na ibang argumento pero for the sake of complying doon sa order ng Senado bilang impeachment court, nagpadala sila ng kanilang kasagutan. So what we're expecting, since nandun na nga tayo, halfway na tayo, tapos na tayo sa step 5, yung paghihintay sa sagot ni VP Duterte. Step 6, paghihintay sa reply ng House prosecutors, and then hopefully, as what we are expecting by July, doon na natin makikita yung pag-usad nga ng proceeding, continuing with the appearance of Vice President Duterte, entering her plea. Kasunod dyan yung preliminary conference, dito gagawin yung stipulations ng fact, yung pre-markings ng exhibits before the Secretary. Sunod dito, presentation na ng evidence. So dito naman natin makikita yung mga cross-examination. And then the step 10, closing and final arguments. And lastly, yung pagbobotohan ng mga senador doon sa kanila, each article of impeachment. Pero for now, we're also on standby kasi ang alam din natin anytime within this week is dapat magkakaroon ng press briefing kasama si spokesperson, Attorney Tonggol, kung ano na nga ba ang naging progress nitong kanilang nakuha. Pero for now, ang hinihintay din dito is yung reply na ng House prosecutors. Balik sa inyo.
Alright, step number 5, parang volleyball lang. Balik, antay ng sagot. Anyway, maraming salamat sa ating mobile journal, Mary Mon Reyes.
Malacanang moves to shut down thousands of illegal scatter online gambling sites, warning of a growing addiction crisis nationwide. Mobile Journal, Les De Los Santos with the story.
Alas 4 pa lamang ng madaling araw, nasa computer na si Angelo. Hindi niya tunay na pangalan. Tinatrabaho niya dyan, work assignments, at ang kinababaliwan ngayon na scatter o online gambling. Barya-barya lang daw ang taya niya. Pero sa tuwing ending ng kanyang freelancer shift, sa kanya ito todo ang laro.
Convenient, and unlike sa actual na mga sugal na kailangan mo ng interaction na ng ibang tao, ng kalaro. Dito parang convenient, kahit nasa bahay ka lang, kaya mo mag-cash in, kaya mo maglaro.
Habit niya na raw ito since 2020. Kada araw, 1,000 hanggang 5,000 pesos daw ang kanyang naitataya. Madalas talo pero minsan naman panalo. Pati ang kanyang ina, abay, na-impluwensyahan niya na ring magsugal online.
Kasi minsan pag nakikita niya na nanalo ko, ganyan, nagbibigay ako, bibigay pagkain, ganyan, nambabalato. So, in a way, parang na-guilty rin kasi parang na-impluwensyahan ko sila.
Ang 23 anyos namang si alias Kago, kamakailan lamang naalis sa trabaho. Ang dahilan, nahuli siyang naglalaro ng scatter habang naka-duty. Pero eto ang malala.
Kung ano ginagawa ko, dumidiskarte ako para mapaglaro lang, mapag-cash in. One time bike ko, nabenta ko para magpa-cash in.
Sabi ng isang psychiatrist, baka pathological gambling na yan o yung hindi mapigilang pagsusugal.
Hindi na siya normal na pagwaldas ng pera, pagbigay ng halos isang araw, no? Na ikaw ay nagkagamble lang at nauubos ng finances mo. Gusto mong bumawi, gusto mong kumita in an instant.
Kalaunan, aatakihin daw ng pagsusugal ang mental health.
At minsan yung iba dyan nagkakaroon ng mga anxiety and depression. At humahantong yun usually sa pagkakaroon ng suicidal attempts, no? Or pinakamalungkot sa lahat ay ang completed suicides.
Sabi nga nila, ang piso o barya-barya pag pinagsama-sama, malaki o mapapakinabangan din. Ganyan din po sa sugal. Ang piso-piso o tigli 5 pisong taya pag di pumaldo. Pagkain sa mesa o maaaring buhay pa ang mawala sa atin. Mobile Journal, Arles De Los Santos po. Hatid ang mukha ng balita.
May mga kilala ako na lulong dyan. Hindi natin papangalanan.
Okay lang naman maglaro kung kaya mong kontrolin.
Clue.
Oh.
Nandito lang siya sa
Ganon, naku, huwag mo ng pangalanan. Baka
Lulong na lulong.
magkagulo pa pag
Baka
uwi.
nga si Bitong, yung si Kuya Bitong, baka mamaya, kala mo, nanonood ako ng tulpo. Pala.
Click-click na pala. Okay.
Try mga laruin yan, balitaan mo ako.
Nako.
Kumusta siya? Pero wag mo ako
Natatakot ko.
utangan ng madaling araw.
Nako, hindi.
ha?
Huwag ka mag-alala. Hindi ako mahilig. Okay. Speaking of click, huwag niyo pong i-click. Dito lang po kayo. This is still Afternoon Delight on One News. We just need to pause for another break. And as we do so, we bring you the global headlines from the Associated Press.
This is AP News Minute. Iran launched a missile attack Monday on a U.S. military base in Qatar. Iran said it matched the number of bombs dropped by the United States on its nuclear sites this weekend. No casualties have been reported. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with King Charles III at Windsor Castle as part of his state visit to the UK. Zelensky also held talks with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London ahead of this week's NATO summit. Britain's government says it will ban the pro-Palestinian activist group Palestine Action under anti-terrorism laws. The group's members broke into a military base and vandalized 2 planes last week. It will be a criminal offense to belong to or support the group, with the maximum of 14 years in prison. Giorgio Armani missed Milan Fashion Week for the first time in 50 years. The 90-year-old designer skipped the runway preview show, closing Milan Fashion Week on Monday to recover from an undisclosed condition. His fashion house said he watched the runway show on Livestream.
Lahat po ng mapapanood ninyo sa susunod na mga eksena ay fake. Tandaan nyo po yan.
Ngayon, sobrang dali na gumawa ng fake na video. Muka, boses, pwedeng gayahin. Parang totoo, pero hindi.
Yung fake videos, pwedeng gamitin yan para manghingi ng OTP, password, o mag-spread ng maling impormasyon. Gaya nito.
Bro, legit to. High return in just 3 months. Wala kang gagawin.
Oo, boss. Bayad ka. Minimum lang 50,000. May 100,000 ka na bukas.
Oops, fake lahat to. Pati kami FAK.
Nanalo ako. Pero kailangan daw ng 1,000 pesos. Tsaka OTP. Anong OTP?
Inday, na-aksidente si sir. Nasa ospital. Karon dayon og padala og kwarta.
Unsa? Ay, fake pala ako. Pati itong buong eksena.
Good morning po. May promo tayo ngayon. Tataasan natin ang credit limit ninyo.
Alright.
Pakisend po ng picture ng credit card nyo.
Oops, fake to.
Ingat tayong lahat sa fake. Gaya namin.
Lahat kami dito fake.
Pakipadala ng email address at phone number. Oops, fake ako. Sorry, tita. Fake ako.
Ow, I miss you.
Sorry. Fake kami.
Gagawa ko ng batas na lahat ng senior high school students kailangan mag-necktie.
Bakit po necktie, sir?
Sa ikauunlad ng bayan, neckties ang kailangan. Ay, fake pala ako, pati itong press con.
Fake news and fake videos will become an even bigger problem.
Ang dami pa nating tanong po sa
Oo nga.
scatter. But we're back. You're still watching Afternoon Delight. Thank you for staying with us.
Now, meron na tayo. Present na natin ang ating delight of the day. Ito po ay ang tinatawag na falafel, a Middle Eastern fritter of Egyptian origin.
Fritter talaga.
O yung nasa loob, di ba?
Opo. Ito, ang falafel ay dinurog-durog at piniritong garbanzos. Sa mga vegetarian, ha?
Okay
Perfect
to,
yan.
oo.
Kasi very... very ano siya, chewy, may pagka-beefy yung ano eh.
Oo,
Alam mo
because
yan?
of the spices, the herbs.
Pati yung, I think yung texture din nung chickpeas na dinurog-durog. No?
Ay, mapapakita ko ba yung loob?
Matindi, high protein content din yan, of
Oo.
course. Mhm. At ito nga, no, pwede mo rin siya ulamin, maliban sa ibalot sa pita bread.
Mapapakita
Pwede
ko
siya
ba?
with rice.
Ayan, no? Para siyang, ito pong nakikita nyo na parang meatball, ano? That's the falafel
In
mismo.
theory, madali lang siya gawin. Durug-durugin mo lang siya, i-blender mo, lagyan mo ng salt, pepper, some spices, yun na yun. Kamusta? Ha? Minsan nga, mahal pa yung falafel. Kapreso niya yung beef.
Masarap.
Kaso
Sakto, di pa ako
may gout
makain.
kaya.
Pwede ba sa kanila to? Teka lang, susubo sana ako, pero kailangan natin pag-usapan.
Ito ang binabayaran sa'yo.
Ng ating mga storya on social media. Ito, unahin natin on the Philippine Star via Filipino Star ngayon. Alex Ayala is now up to the 74th spot in the WTA, or Women's Tennis Association rankings. Pataas ng pataas.
Last time ba?
Ano siya eh, wala siya sa top 100, pero dahil yung maganda yung pinakita niya sa Miami Open, 75 siya. Pero ito, ang nakalagay dito, mula sa 77. So, it has been moving. It constantly moves. Depende doon sa mga laban mo. Pero, number 74 na siya ngayon. Una niyang tinalo si Sonmez, si Zeynep Sonmez ng Turkiye. Ayan, nung Sabado. Tapos, tinalo niya rin si Hailey, tama ba? Oo, Baptiste. Ayan, nung linggo naman, magkasunod. So dahil dyan, pasok na siya sa main draw nga,
yung
number
report
74 siya.
sa bisa ng pukpukang 6 to 7.
Oo.
Pukpukan.
Dikit naman kasi, 6-7.
Pukpukan.
Oo.
Mhm.
Ayan, yung next ng laban, actually, is against number 61, si Lucia Bronzetti from Italy, sa Eastbourne Open daw. Okay. Okay, so abangan natin yung susunod na laban ni ni Alex, and hopefully makapasok din siya, at tignan natin kung because rin siya, lalaro din siya sa Nottingham Open.
Ako nung first time akong nag-golf, pagkatapos kong tamaan yung bola after the first hour, at pagkatapos kong mapalipad yung bola after the second or third hour, pag uwi ko ng bahay, naghanap pa lang ng ESPN para manood ng golf. At nagkaroon ng panibagong paggalaw.
Ako,
mga
grabe.
golfer. Sa tennis.
Sa tennis.
Papanoorin mo ba si Alex Ayala mamaya?
Hindi, nanonood naman ako ng tennis, especially if it's yan, sila Alex, dahil ang ganda nga nung pinapakita, at syempre, suporta sa atletang Pilipino. Pero, na-realize ko, kasi tried it kanina for the first time, na-realize ko, sobrang nakakapagod na paano nila ginagawa to ng 5-6 na oras. And I was actually talking to one of the former coaches of the national team. Sabi niya, yung 1 hour daw ng tennis, katumbas daw yan ng mga 3 oras ng pagtakbo sa treadmill.
Wow.
Ganun siya daw talaga nakakapagod. So, big respect to Alex Ayala, at sana magtuloy-tuloy pa ang kanyang panalo at ang pagtaas sa rankings.
Nung nagbabackhand ka ba, umuung, mga ganun ka rin?
Hindi naman, pero nang dulo parang napapasigaw na ako sa pagod. Tsaka na-frustrate ako kasi yung muscle memory ko pang volleyball. So, sa volleyball kasi you always flick your wrist. Sa tennis, dapat hindi.
Kala ko in-spike mo yung bola.
Hindi naman.
Mine!
Napapressure ako kasi yung coach kanina, parang, sige, gawin na natin to, advance tayo dito, advance tayo.
Baka nakita niya yung footwork mo. Marunong itong batang to.
Oo, sabi niya, ayun, pinatakbo ako ng pinatakbo kanina.
Ayun.
Alright.
Hindi.
Okay, let's move on to our next story.
Dapat, basta, wag mo, maganda, gayahin mo si John McEnroe.
Ay, bakit?
Inahampas mo yung
Ayoko, ang mahal kaya ng raketa.
Aawayin mo yung umpire.
Hindi, sige. Tsatsagain ko yung gusto ko matuto eh. Alright, moving on to our next story. Netflix's Somebody Feed Phil is bringing good business to iconic Trellis, which Sisig sells out for the first time after 45 years in existence. Somebody Feed Phil is an American travel documentary TV series presented by Philip Rosenthal.
Nakailang seasons na sila.
Ilan na nga ba
Yung
to?
pinakauna niyang episode ay episode sa Bangkok, Thailand. Nakakatawa tong si Rosenthal mag-host kasi very wide-eyed innocence na walang, para sa bata, walang guile, walang malice, walang snark. Talagang chibog lang talaga yung gusto
Para ba
niya.
siyang si Mark Wins? Yung parang sarap na sarap lang din palagi.
Si Mark Wins, hindi, gumagano siya. Si Mark Wins kasi nahuhulog yung ulo sa patagilid eh. Parang pagkaagat niya ay,
Si Philip?
lumalaki mata. Hudyong-hudyo. Yan. Ngayon,
Ano?
Bakit kailangan
Ah. Bakit kailangan ibang
ng
tao?
foreigner
Correct.
na mag-validate kung masarap o hindi ang pagkain natin? Bakit kaya? Sagot.
Hindi, nakakapagtaka nga, no? Kasi syempre,
Tagal-tagal ng isa sa mga urig, supposedly, isa sa mga urig talaga na sisig sa Maynila, ang Tarelis, yung Pampanga style. Crunchy yung kanilang version at nasa sizzling plate talaga. Although, yung style ng sisig ng Tarelis, basically marami nang gumagawa ngayon, marami nang gumaya. Yung mga Jerry's Grill, ayan, mga ganyan, mga Lensos, parang ganyang style din. Alam mo kung ano masarap sa Trellis?
Ano?
Na bibihira yung umorder kasi bibihira din lagi supply. Crispy squid head.
wow, parang ang sarap naman nun.
Pag meron yun, in-order ko talaga.
Grabe.
2 pilsen tsaka plato nun. Goodbye, Philippines.
Pero nakakatuwa, no, na nag-sold out nga daw yung kanilang sisig. Siguro, to answer your question, yung iba rin kasi, wala pang idea dun sa Trellis, hindi pa sila nakakapunta. And since alam nila na trending nga, ang dami nag-validate din, siguro baka hindi lang si Philip, baka yung mga nakikita rin nila on social media, kaya sila sumubok na.
Ayun.
Sa hirap ng panahon ngayon, no, hindi ka basta-basta lalabas kung walang nagsabing sobrang sarap.
Nag-aling sosings pa pala. Pero malito, hindi ito sa Quiapo. Sa may, ano yan, parang border na ng Manila at Makati. Sosings.
Ang dami.
Tama. Ano lang yan, literal na karinderya lang talaga yan. Nakatabi ng vulcanizing.
Okay, sige.
Pero nagtoyo eatery ang kuya mo.
Oo nga, naisingit.
Kay Chele Gonzales
Correct.
lang naman.
Lahat daw ng lahat ng
Mahal
iba-ibang correct. Okay, moving on. AI-generated videos are rapidly spreading on social media, some of them so realistic, they're fooling even the most watchful eyes. Here's how to spot the fakes from Mobile Journal, JF Rivera.
Marami na ang nalilinlang sa mga AI-generated videos.
Oops, teka, hindi po ako yan.
Ito ang totoo. Sa dami ng mga AI-generated videos online, kaya pa ba natin malaman kung ang pinapanood natin ay real or fake?
Kakayanin mo bang mag-vlog sa mismong tuktok ng bulkan? Para iwas traffic, si nanay, nag-zipline na. At paano nga ba kung magkaroon ng zombie sa bansa? Realistic man tignan ng mga videos na ito, pero hindi po yan legit. AI-generated videos sa mga yan kung saan kaya nito gawa ng video ang kahit anong gusto mo. Kaya naman, kumonsulta tayo sa isang IT expert kung paano nga ba malalaman kung authentic o AI-generated ang content na napapanood natin.
Dapat maging mapanuri tayo. Kasi ngayon, ang hirap nang i-identify yung AI-generated video saka sa real video. So, ang authentic video kasi, karaniwang may consistent lighting, natural yung mga facial expression, pero dahil sa advancement ng technology, minsan din na natin ito napapansin. Ang galing-galing na nila.
Kung makakakita ng mga videos gaya nito, ilan sa dapat obserbahan ay ang mata. Ang karaniwang tao ay sigo-segundo kumukurap, pero ang AI hindi. Check din natin ang texture ng balat na madalas unnaturally flawless kapag AI, ang galaw ng bibig, kung tugma ba sa sinasabi at ang pagkumpas ng kamay. Pero isa sa mahalagang bagay pa rin ay kung saan nagmula ang video.
Ang source ng video legitimate, ang source ng video ay mainstream media. Kasi ang mainstream media, meron siya responsibility to verify kung ano yung ilalabas nila. Pag it's too good to be true, magduda ka na.
Nakakaaliw man panoorin ng mga AI videos, may malaking banta pa rin ito para sa atin.
Pero ang masama dito, pag yung AI mo, parang totoo na at hindi mo sinabing AI ang gumawa nito. So dapat kumilos na ang gobyerno para maging accountable ang Meta sa mga nangyayari ngayon na mga scams, fake videos, AI-generated videos na nakakasama sa society natin.
Kaya ang paalala niya para makaiwas malinlang sa mga AI-generated videos online.
Iwasang mag-share agad. So mag-isip po muna tayo bago natin i-click yung share button. Kasi baka maging instrumento tayo sa pagpapakalat ng fake news at pagpapakalat ng maling impormasyon.
Hindi sa pagiging KJ, pero kailangan pa rin maging responsable sa mga bagay na sinishare natin online. Dapat maging mapanuri dahil baka pala ang akala mo'y totoo, yun pala, ay gawang AI lang. Mobile Journal, JF Rivera po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
Eto na, ang sakit. Salita ka. Isang segment ng Afternoon Delight.
Kaya ba ako magsalita? Ang pangit naman ng ano mo.
May
Ito
pagkain.
na ang segment na tunay na AI. Ito ay astig. Ito. I saw the signs.
Isa pa nga, may food kasi kanina eh.
Direct. Sige.
Today's edition, challenge sa chat! Okay, from Afternoon Delight viewer, Ram Jugs, chat on GP... Ay, ano sabi ko? Chat on an iconic soaps account. Okay.
Itsumi. May question po ako. Sana mag-reply kayo.
Safeguard Philippines. Hi, Itsumi. How may we assist you?
Bakit po yung 1% ng germs di nyo po mapatay? Alam mo, yan din ang pinagtataka ko. Dapat sagutin nila yan.
Bakit may nakakalusot? Ano?
Oo, yung 1% na yun, it will still cause damage. Kasi kung mapapatay nila lahat, hindi na kailangan ng sabon, di ba?
Tama naman.
Alright, from Afternoon Delight viewer, Prue Halliwell. Ako si anak. Ma, pag-pray mo, exam ko now. Ilang oras na ako nagre-review, kinakabahan pa rin me.
Kayang-kaya mo yan. Ako nga, nasasagot mo eh.
Alright, mula ulit kay Ram Jugs. Jowa, kain muna ako, babe. Adobo pala ulam namin.
Ew. E.W. Ano yun? Oh.
Anong iyo ka dyan? Kayo nga walang ulam. Timba nyo, boys. Tapos bag mo, 20 na may gulong.
Hoy, may pangkutsaka. Eat well kasi yon. Grabe ka naman manlait.
Aray.
E.W. Ngayon ko lang nadinig yung E.W. May ganun pala.
Restaurant yan dati sa Green Hills. Eat well.
Hindi ko alam na ginagamit pala sa text yun.
Pero grabe.
Makapangkutsun.
Ano naman kayong kung boysen?
Oo nga. Oh.
Boysen daw yung ano?
Yung timba. Ay, may dami naman gumagamit niyan. Bakit?
Ano, di ba? Sayang yung boysen na timba eh.
Oo. Ay, nako.
Pwede pa yung lalagyan ng kaning baboy. Ano pa ba?
Gabi naman. Bumati na nga lang tayo.
Sige na nga.
Oo, sa lahat po na nanonood sa Afternoon Delight via live streaming on
Charge pa ako
Facebook,
ng phone, sorry.
YouTube, and on TikTok.
Sigurado ako si Marion Ladja nandyan. Si
Of
Tito
course.
Mike Policarpio nandyan din. Pati yung isang hindi ko maintindihan palagi mag-text. Very cryptic yung mga message lagi.
Okay, si Alex Fuentes, syempre nanonood sa atin. Ralph Domingo, isa pa nating suki yan. Pati na rin si Elmo Cardenas.
Of course.
Na ang gusto ata ay yummy rellenong bangus. Okay, nanonood din sa atin si John Centelieses, si Digital Womp Womp. Okay, sabi ni...
John Olimpolos, kung nanonood ka
Ayun.
ngayon.
Si Rodel Alcantara, nanonood daw siya from Novaliches. Galing ata siyang Cebu daw.
Ayun.
Okay.
Let there be light. Happy Fiesta sa Taytay Rizal, San Juan and Manila. Oo, si San Juan Bautista. Okay, at si Hermione Hope. Let there be light, of course. Ojet Wenceslao. Eric Stapat. Sabi niya, Merrimon. Tapos may heart emoji siya na naguguluhan yung ulo niya. M. Ladja. I ate falafel. I felt afel.
Ano?
Huwag mo na ulitin to, Marion.
May chance ka pa. May chance ka pa. Hindi pa tapos yung show. Magpasa ka pa ng isang joke.
Ang ganda na.
Redeem yourself.
Sabi niya, pangalan niya, Ricochet Puno.
Oh. Gusto mo yon?
Oo. Hiraya Aguilera, Kim Alexis Lozada. Shoutout daw watching from Pasay.
Okay. Pahabol ako, Tito Redel and Tita Jane Katapia.
Nandahan niya po ako.
Ma! See you later. Okay. That will have to do it for us this Tuesday, June 24. Thank you for watching Afternoon Delight. Ako po, si Denise Tan.
Join us again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Sabihin nila, AI ka, AI ako pa rin si Lourdes Vera. Have a delightful afternoon.